Hey everybody, it's Bust with Expedition Trial number 415. Let's see what shows up here. All right, so we got some of the new ones in here. Interesting little set. I think we'll just go with whichever we've drafted the least recently. It might actually just be this Shyvana here. But all of these are perfectly capable card pools. I think we covered off on Darkness maybe 2 trials ago, and then I think we actually drafted Caitlyn 3 trials ago. So I'm pretty sure that we'll end up drafting this Shyvana, but let's just swing over to the site and see which one of these happened the least recently. So, if you're not familiar, we're just over here at ftpbus.com. It's where I keep all of my expedition related content. I'm trying to think of the last time I updated the and posted the new stuff on here, but let's see. There's a Caitlyn at 398. I know we've drafted one more recently than that. What are the other ones? Vagar? Let's see. Vagar. Yeah, we drafted you at 405, and then we drafted, let's take a look at Shyvana at 394. She's even beyond that at 376. We tried to build around Shin at 394. I know that we've drafted Caitlyn within like the last 3 or so trials, and so let's pick up this Shyvana. This will be okay. Give us a chance to kind of talk about these. There's kind of like the big thing that I think that's like happening in the format now, especially with the release of Beyond the Bandlewood, is there's just like so many cards now that just generate another card, and it makes us kind of like rethink what decks are going to be good. And so like kind of at the tail end of what would we call that? The Empires of the Ascended, with the release of the Malefic Descent, Shyvana, and Vigio, along with the Relic Trackers action. It's just like there's so many cards in those collections of cards that are just kind of built in 2-for-1s. Whether or not it's Vigio generating ephemerals, you have action generating the landmark, which then goes ahead and generates more cards afterwards. There's like the Vakuran Vagabond that generates the 3/3s. It's just all over the place now that cards are generating cards. As we take a look at the cards here, Vagar generates a card, Tenor of Terror generates a card, Caitlyn sort of pseudo generates cards. I would consider this to be an ability and not a kind of generated card, but Station Activist generates one and Officer Squad generates one. So from these piles here on the left and the right, 66% of the cards in Darkness Rising's pack, 66% of the cards in Caitlyn's pack generate a card. And so it makes us kind of like rethink how we want a deck to look. The big thing we were looking at the end of the Malefic Descent set was how do we deal with our opponent playing a 4 health unit. We as far as kind of like aggro strategies go, if you couldn't deal with a 4 cost or 4 health unit, you couldn't win the game. And that still applies to a degree now. But on top of that, you have the 4 health unit that generates the Owlcat. You have things like Bandle Commando that generates the additional units. It is extremely tough to be a a deck that's trying to trade cards for damage, because it's just so hard to actually get that damage in now. And so I think that in a sense makes it kind of interesting for Shyvana. She doesn't do a whole lot of card generation. I mean, if she's flipped, then she generates strafing strikes. But as far as the generation goes, she's mainly kind of focusing on the 2-drop unit that generates additional dragons. But I think as far as Shyvana goes, we should be able to kind of like flip that concept a little bit and just not die on board. If we're able to just sit on board with these Fury units, we shouldn't need to be just generating cards, since our cards should just be kind of naturally generating 2-for-1s. But we'll see how that goes. We'll try to talk about this. This is something I plan to talk about a bit more over the next few videos, since I think it's kind of interesting. I guess we can continue on with the asides, but if you look at a game like Magic, there's just no way for them to make a card like say Vagar. You can maybe do something with like generating cards into your hand, but probably not. It's kind of awkward. And then, like, what happens if that card generated into your hand gets shuffled into your deck? That brings up some like really awkward and weird, situations in the paper card game. Are you like playing in a tournament? Do you now have to like sleeve that card if it's going to get shuffled back into your deck, so you don't know exactly where it is? It's just things that don't play well in a paper game. And I thought it was super interesting in the digital landscape that these cards could kind of function this way. And Hearthstone dealt with it a little bit. Hearthstone did a little bit with card generation, a little bit with kind of like persistent effects on cards and cards like leveling up and such. But the Runeterra team has just like taken it to the next level. They've just said, we are going all out on card generation because it's like not tough to get to the end of a draft and half of your deck just generates another card. And so very, very prevalent with the release of Bandle City. But okay, that's enough chit chat for now. Let's go ahead and jump back into the trial. We've got to pull up the Dragon's Descent Shyvana. So let's see here. We'll just swing back over to the Expedition Helper or the main page. Both of them take you to the same place, and we'll head down to Shyvana and Dragon's Descent. And so yeah, this is a dragon's built around. First and foremost, whenever we talk about dragons, you have to just get units on the board in the early game. It's very easy to end up with a deck that's just full of Shyvanas, and you get a bunch of these 6-cost Cadrigens, and maybe you find an expensive Cadrigen, and then you get like 4 or 5 Screeching Dragons, and you get these hands to where you may be able to play like one card before the 4th turn. But you often run into games where you just can't play a card till the 4th turn, or you run into a lot of spots to where you're just burning through mana and not using it. And so the big thing that we'll talk about with these decks is finding the early game plays. And so the Dragon Guard Lieutenant and Egghead Researcher are the big ones. These are your kind of premier 2-drop units. And then we have some premium 3-drops here as well in the Loyal Badgered Bear and the Ruined Dragon Guard. So big, heavy emphasis on these early game plays that let us just shut down our opponents. And then as far as your late game goes, you can just kind of let it fall to you. You'll probably, pick up a random Cadrigen paired up with a single combat, or you'll get an Egghead Researcher paired with a Screeching Dragon or something. You typically don't have to go out of your way to draft these expensive cards, but you do at the end of the day want to have 2 or 3 Screeching Dragons, and then at least 2 of the kind of big boys, whether or not it's Cadrigen or the likes of Cadrigen Part 2. But otherwise, this deck has kind of everything that's good early game, good late game, has good interaction with things like single combat, things like Strafing Strike or Dragon Single Combat, as we'll call it, and then Molten Breath generating some 2-for-1s. This pool just has kind of everything going for it. As kind of a side note, the thing that we will talk about is we are going to want to either pair this up with Targon or with Shadow Isles. Given the way the game works, Dragon's Descent pairs with Aurelian Soul, so we will see Targon as a champion in the second pack, but I don't want to let the second pack go without either taking a Targon or a Shadow Isles champion, so we can either get the Targon Dragons or the Vigio-based Shadow Isles Dragons. Okay, and so, yep, we're just going to take the Targon set here. Interestingly enough, starting off with a dragon as well. And so this is, kind of pointing to why we talk about so much of the early game being important. We're going to have 3 Shyvanas at the end of the day. We're picking up 2 4-drops here in Leona and White Flame Protector. It's just very, very easy to just have a ton of cards in the mid game, and you're just getting ran over by the time that rolls around. But reasonable enough start here with Leona. We'll get these card pools pulled up here real quick as well. Which one was this? Radiant Dawn. That's the single faction Dawn Sunlight Daybreak build around, but let's see if there's anything interesting as far as our deck is concerned. The big thing you see in Shadow Isles is they don't have any removal, but this does have the only Shadow Isles removal spell in Sunburst. I wanted to see if any dragons were hanging out here. We did see White Flame Protector in our opening set. Then we have Eclipse Dragon down here at the rare space. So we do have some dragons we can kind of incidentally run into. One of the problems you don't run into with dragons is being able to close out a game. Just imagine you're playing against a random Poppy deck, and they've been able to get some Bandle Commandos down. Those Bandle Commandos just generated some of the happy Owlcats or whatever. Those little Owlcats will just block Eclipse Dragons for turn after turn, and so it's very tough to close out a game without overwhelms. So we may look to pick up some Zenith Blades, or we always end up getting stuck with the likes of this 4-cost dude that distributes some... is he not in here? The 4-cost guy that gives overwhelm to something. That stuff will turn up. So I was really just interested in the dragons here. There is some premium early game in the Shield Bearer, Shield Breaker, but not something we're really going to be looking for. But the thing I did want to stop and pull up and talk about was the Targon half of this deck. One of the big things we'll see out of here is the Herald of Dragons. This is one of the biggest high roll kind of cards we'll find in the game. These curves where we say play a Herald of Dragons on 2, Shyvana on 3, and then a Challenger Dragon on 4 are some of the just most powerful curves you can run into. And jumping in with Targon, we can even look to say, well, we'll either get Shyvana or a White Flame Protector on 3, and then we'll get either the Challenger Dragon or a Fused Firebrand on 4. Just an absolute shit ton of stats for your opponent to have to deal with. It's very, very powerful. But the downside to the Herald of Dragons is if you pick it up, in game on like turn 8, it's pretty useful as one of the worst top decks in the game. And then it's very easy for your opponent's Challenger units to take advantage of this. So if you're playing against Sherma and all the vulnerables, or Demacia with the rando Challenger units, just if your opponent manages to hook this on the second or the third turn with a value attack, it's just extremely, extremely painful. But if we are looking for the other half of the dragons, this is where they're going to be. And so, let's dive on in. Welcome to the squad, Leona, and let's see what we can do. Okay, so here, this is a very easy egghead researcher. We need to signal to the game that, hey, we're trying to draft dragons, and this is usually enough to do it. And so the thing that we're hoping to have happen here as the future synergy packs show up is we'll probably get stuck with a Leona pack showing up. We're just going to see Radiant Dawn, but we're hoping to see like Dragon's Descent, and then one of the other 2 Shyvana card pools and the other synergy picks. So hopefully we'll be seeing like Fist of the Dragon, or we'll be seeing Malefic Descent as the other options, since that's where the other dragon pools live. This is one of the concepts we talk about a bit ever since they added 4 Riven archetypes and 3 Shyvana archetypes. There's 4 Misfortune archetypes. You're able to really, really affect the quality of the decks that you get just on the basis that there's so many archetypes with Shyvana, whereas, say, I don't know, a champion like... I was trying to think of a champion that there's only like a single archetype of in the game, but nonetheless, that's what we're getting at here. So we'll take the Egghead Researcher, and then hopefully on these future packs, we'll have the double dragon options. So with this one, Demacian Steel is a trap. If we take this Demacian Steel pack, we will continue to see a bunch of Demacian Steels throughout our synergy picks. This is not what we want to see. We do not want to jump into Noxus, so we'll ignore that one. That leaves us stuck down here with the Radiant Dawn pack. It's not that bad. I mean, it's got a Solari Shield Breaker in it. But this is going to, make our future picks work out the best. So at least these are 2 early game plays, which we've talked about really needing to find in this style of deck. Okay, these cards are turds. And so, again, I'm going to stay away from Demacian Steel. These cards just love to show up as soon as you take an elite, so I'm not going to take that. The Sketcher Scamp are just too weak, so we're stuck with the Sunhawk and the Priestess. At least these are, reasonably high-quality early game cards. They just don't help us build towards Shyvana. Okay, well, this is a very easy Dragon's Descent pack here to the left. Again, we're going to stay away from the elites, trying to make the point that these shouldn't be showing up after we've seen them show up 3 times. But I assure you it will show up through the rest of our synergy picks if we add these elites to our deck. And then we don't want Freylord cards. So it's a very easy Badger Bear down here to the left. Okay. And see, this is what Old Bust was talking about and what we are trying to accomplish, is to where we assume Radiant Dawn is going to show up, and then we have the 2 Shyvana Dragon packs between Dragon's Descent and Malefic Descent. So with this one, I'm going to pick up the Egghead Researchers. We do need to pick up a bit of expensive stuff, but I don't really like Dragon Chows unless we're on the Shadow Isles half of this deck. It's just not strong enough if you aren't packing some of those dragons that deal 3 damage to your own units. And to a degree, Egghead Researcher can come out and generate us some late game. So he's a reasonable choice here. Another safe pick in the Egghead Researcher. Not real excited about having 3 Confronts in our deck, but hopefully we'll get the option to just trade some of these out. Demacian Steel, loving to show up today, though. That's certainly happening. Even in the synergy picks, it's still just showing up. Like this isn't a single elite in our deck, and there's not any cards that live in Demacian Steel in our deck. I don't know why this feels the need to show up so frequently here. Maybe it's just a low roll, but we're definitely trying to avoid this. But okay, as far as these packs go, I think I want to pick up a Behold the Infinite. I would like to just have like a touch of late game here. We're a little bit lacking, and so that'll be a reasonable late game play for us. Okay, this is perfect though, with the Ruined Dragon Guard and the Screeching Dragon just kind of filling in all the holes. We would have the option here with the Badger Bear, but I think at the end of the day, the Dragon Guard's going to be a little bit better. Okay, well, here, I want to take the Sunburst. We haven't seen any of the removal spells, right? We haven't seen any single combats. We haven't seen any concerted strikes. We haven't seen any dragon single combats. This is it as far as removal's concerned. But I think we're going to let it go. Heaven's Aligned is just pretty bad. And we're already hurting with some unplayables. We got these 3 confronts. Tyari's pretty bad. Fledgling Stellacorn's pretty bad. And so I don't really want to be adding bad cards to our deck at this stage. So I'm going to take the back-to-back with the Egghead Researcher. Hopefully we'll get some interaction here in a bit. But here, we can interact with the Grand Plaza. That's a strong pickup in a deck like this. Nice little epic. Oh, a little two-piece on the Grand Plaza, huh? Another very easy take. Just go ahead and snatch all those up. Okay. Can we ever activate For the Fallen? No, it's just it's another Demacian Steel Pack for sure. I was mainly interested in this Captain Erika, but I was seeing if For the Fallen was playable. It's not really. Did we end up with a Zenith Blade? Okay, this is our second Zenith Blade. I think we can chase these down. I'd like to trade out this Sketcher. We don't have any way to really take advantage of it with like gem generators, but the second Zenith Blade can be quite important here. And beautiful, trading out a Confront for a high quality 2-drop. Looks good to me. Okay. Well, let's see. We got to go and turn something premium. I don't think we saw any of the new cards, so it might get stuck for a rare in this one. Sometimes you just gotta pay the piper, and, and nope, not today. Not today. We get to level up this Confront. All right, welcome to the squad Confront. You are premium. Got to pause this. Got a cat hanging out on my computer desk. It's going to cause an issue. So. All right. So good stuff. Decent enough deck. Let's see what we can do here. We this is the style of deck. I'm curious how it plays out against all the value generation decks, right? This is what I feel like should be decent against Poppy, as long as we have an answer to Poppy. They tend to just like flood the board, and I feel like we can just like stop their board flood with stats. And I kind of want to see how that plays out here. But reasonable enough start. It's weird seeing Sharma show up in these cards, but we'll see what they chose. Pick up a 2? Good. I don't remember the exact number. I think on the screen it said we had like 15 2-drops in our deck, and so it's not unreasonable to think that we should be top decking one here. Be like a coin flip or so at this stage, even a little bit better. I was born in battle and raised by war. There's an argument for playing the Shield Bearer this turn, but it seems okay. Now I feel much better if you have this Confront, though. I was going to say, I feel like much better about this. I think if they had a good combat trick, they would have just gotten Riven in the mix, but not the way they went about it. But I would think if they weren't willing to attack with Riven into our 3/4s, they probably won't block either. Oh, they will. I'm going to generate that big Riven sword right off the bat, huh? Okay. And this is pretty safe. If they want to go all in on the sword and hit us for like 8, I feel like it's usually about 8. That's fine, right? She flips to 4. You give her a +2 attack that doubles, and she goes up to 8. She might hit 10. Sure. Okay, not happening this turn. So let's get the Shield Bearer, and then we should be able to just get like a big Confront next turn with the White Flame Protector. Boomus. Victor, sure. All right, maybe Tayari. I don't really plan on attacking with him. I wanted to get a 2-drop down. The Egghead Researchers is like not that exciting here, and I want to see them spend a bunch of mana before we try to confront Hook down this Riven. Dude's got a ton of cards in hand, but I think 3 of them are just Reforges, and so I don't feel like we're super far ahead here. And I think we want to pivot to just hooking Victor. Okay. Kind of sucks if he turns him into a 4. He plays his Hex Core upgrade right here. Okay, well, he's much scarier than Riven is at this point. Okay. Not ideal, but not the end of the world. Leona ready to come down for these stuns. Fury. Might have been a little aggressive. I don't think that they just go for like the sword this turn, but now they're kind of free to just go for it. It's at least like the premium target for the sword and Victor is not available anymore though. Okay. This isn't scary unless he has a second +2 attack. He should have 4 tokens at this point, or 4 Reforges. Well, sure. I think he's probably putting the big sword over on Riven. Sure. And a Glory Seeker. That one is the painful one. Gross. It's so weird, especially after they like, oh, you just have 2 quick attacks is what the deal is. Damn. Fine to have the Leona hook happen. The big thing we need to have happen here is just our White Flame Protector not die. That's our only way to really recover in this game. Okay. Good. Involus Fox. You big boy. Alright, so now do we need to just like try and find a removal spell with the Behold the Infinite? I think we have like a bit of time. That's not a super ideal dragon. Alright, those generations just didn't do it. So yeah, I mean, we could have waited on the Leona until they played the sword. But that one was tough. Alright, well, we can upgrade the Stellacorn into a different dragon. That's going to work for me. Let's move on. But yeah, that's pretty tough anyways. I mean, all those little reforges add up. I think they got 4. And so if we're keeping track of of cards generated, they had the the 4 reforges, the Riven Sword, like 3 ignitions. I guess I guess the point of comparison to that is just like how much mana you generate. We probably beat them in that sense. It's just we played poorly on that final turn there. I think we probably could have gotten a huge shutdown with the Leona, but we still would have been struggling with those 2 quick attack challenges. We didn't have a real answer to that. Alrighty, let's survive it here. Ready to get this Grand Plaza going. Can't really use it until turn 5, which is a bit unfortunate, but we gotta stall until then. Get the double stuns in our hand. We can most certainly do it. Okay. Gotta keep our stuns ready for this incoming 8/8. Sure. Prevent those damages. Alright, looks good. Yeah, so this should be a pretty decent Grand Plaza. We'll get to drop Shyvana next turn. Shouldn't need to give her a Zenith Blade or anything, but the option is there. She just needs a surprised boost of stats. Let's come to the gold number 2. Ice Shard, okay. And gotcha. Alright. Getting a little worrisome. These thralls are going to be coming down quick. Don't really have an answer to that. Okay. This turn's a bit of an awkward one. I think we just need to drop the stats. Sucks to miss out on the full usage of the Grand Plaza, but I think this is okay. This should be fine. If he has like we're giving up our Daybreak, so we can't use our Leona or the Sunhawk, but if he has a play to, reduce 2 on the Frozen Thrall, we might be able to just get a hook with Tayari. Yeah. Crescent Strike gets the job done as well. I don't really want to just Crescent Strike this turn, though. Like, it doesn't feel ultra greedy to think that we can get 2 of these Frozen Thralls. Alright. Sure. Wonder what he's digging for. Alright, seems good. Alright, and then this is tough. I think this is a spot where we have to look to say like back-to-backing next turn. add the Protector. Let's add him next turn. This should be safe enough. Crescent Strike number 2. Okay. I'm just kind of looking at like leading with this. Sure, leading with the Solari Sunhawk to get the stun on the Frost Guard, and then just acing their board with the Sunhawk and the White Flame. And I think we'll be set up after that for getting like just a good Crescent Strike. Okay, so easy. Easy. He wants to block Cadrigen. I think that's okay. Do we ever just lethal though if we stun 2? We can get 8, 11. Yeah, we can just win this way. There we go. Give it one of these. Take him to the neg 8. Okay. I like to see people trying to run the Lysandrian expedition. She's hanging out down there in tier 5 on our tier lists. So she's definitely not strong out here. Okay, so interesting set. I'm kind of interested in this Aurelian Soul. It has a removal spell, which we're hurting for, and then another Egghead Researcher, as to where, like, Dragon's Clutch is serviceable, but, like, we don't really want star charts here. So I think this will be okay with Aurelian Soul, but we definitely don't want multiple copies of him or her, whatever it is. Should rather just pick up another Shyvana. I wonder how these champions come about. Which is the one that you take third here? You start like Zoe Ezreal and it just doesn't pan out? I don't know. I do not know. There is an argument for keeping star charts here since they're playing Zoe, but they only have one copy. I'm gonna be super worried about her. Okay, but here I do want to pick up the dragon. Oh, we picked up another one anyways for our lieutenant. Okay, we can Tyari then. Dang. Okay. So powerful if you get to turn your lieutenant into a 3/4. Sure. Okay, we'll add the Grand Plaza. It's not a big deal to take the 3 hit off the Sentinel, and we'll be good to go to start acing stuff next turn. Would we rather play the White Flame or play a 2 and a 3? Kind of want to play the 2 and the 3. Can we kill all of his? We can kill all of his champions with the Meteor Shower. So let's pick this one up. All right, not bad. Ready to light him up with these meteor showers. Sure. Wow. You are done for, Egghead Researcher. This is insane. Huh. Well, we got to get something on the board here. I think the white flame would be fine. I mean, they just have to have some kind of like weird hand completely full of removal, right? If they're just like throwing 6 mana removal spells onto a 1/3, so that's all I can imagine's happened here. And I'm gonna start snatching up these big spell shielders. Okay, just got all the value, my man.
Let my stars guide all travelers onward.
I don't think we want to lead off with a Zenith Blade. We're not in like a real hurry to get this game to end, and so I think I want to keep that mana banked up. So if we need to like Meteor Shower next turn, we can still play a unit. Okay. How do we feel about Zenith Blading here? If he has another like 1 damage ping, he's just gonna fall. All right, maybe it's okay now. I'd definitely like to save this other one for our Great Beyond, though.
Forgive me.
Okay. So we can play the Dragon Guard, we can play the Behold the Infinite, and then just bank 3. I think that seems good. Oh, I get it. He played he has the catalog down, so he played the Unspeakable Horror. He's getting a copy of Unspeakable Horror. He's going to spend his 1 damage onto the Empyrean. That makes sense. Okay. Cosmic Inspiration seems quite good. We can wait a turn on the Behold the Infinite to inspire everything. Does this put all the spells? A fleeting copy of a non-fleeting spell you cast last round. So he only gets 1 spell off of this thing, right? Right, we got an actual mountain of stats now. I'm looking here just to play the Sketcher and discard the Confront. To pick up any unit, hopefully. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna have to get our Meteor Showers online to punch through all this removal generation. But it is pretty tough to overwhelm all these stats we're putting on the board. It's a huge amount of stats from the thing, whatever the thing is called, the Cosmic Inspiration. Sure.
One sling, a bunch of targets.
Uh-oh. You're not long for this world, are you, the Great Beyond? Yeah, I don't think you're gonna make it. Sure. Really hoping to pick up a unit here. Let's go ahead and get this. Try and get rid of this Ezreal before he actually kills us. This is the one way that we definitely have the option to lose this game. Okay. May be able to lethal him now. All depends on what turns up with the star chart. Fleeting copy of a non-fleeting spell you cast last round. Okay. Okay, the messenger. Okay. We're getting close. I feel okay-ish about it without that Ezreal on the board. Like, if he just wants to spend his time playing Vengeances, it's okay. Then it seems like he lost his Darkness Rising whenever his... Oh, this is going to be bad, isn't it? It seems like he lost it whenever he played, like, the Vengeance was the one that went back to hand. We're just going to die to get excited. Ugh. Are we going to make it? Did we do it? Are we okay? All right, we're opening next turn, so let's just throw some stats down. I think the Zenith Blade here is okay. I guess the thing to worry about would just be like a 1 damage ping. That's probably what he's more likely to have. Oh, not Confront. Let's put the Zenith Blade here. Then we'll just like put Confront on Spacey Sketcher and hook the Golden Sister way off to the right. We're never winning this game if we don't get through this turn. Okay. Take quite a bit to deal with. Got him. Okay. Alright, so what do we got here? We can get rid of the Confronts, which feels good. Also cool to trade out Tyaris, but I would rather just get rid of Confront. I really don't like this card. And it's a nice 2-for-1 out of Molten Breath as well. Everybody likes a nice 2-for-1. Right, alright. Those are the kind of decks that scare me. It's like I think we ought to be able to like do well against like the Poppy decks of the world. Again, as long as we have an answer to Poppy. It seems like we should be able to, like, if they're just going to stall the board and flood the board, we should be able to take advantage of those boards. But a little worried, I guess, about some of these games going too late. But I mean, we have Aurelion Soul. We're ready for games to go late. We're just lacking the removal to really help us ensure we get there. Discard a Stirred Spirits block. Get these out of here. I'm leaning towards just like opening here. If they play a 3-3, then we can't really do anything about it. So I'm gonna say let's go ahead and try to get the trade, and then we'll have a Dragon Guard this turn. We definitely want to be playing the Grand Plaza on our next turn. See if we can't start to take advantage of that. The only thing that worries me about trying to be on like a Grand Plaza plan is if they start playing that slay thing, the slay the kill the lowest cost unit. Like that looks pretty juicy here. I feel like we have to play the Grand Plaza. It's too easy for them to just pass because both of their attacks are bad. And then our next turn is just kind of abysmal if all we do this turn is bank. So I feel like we have to add the Plaza. Discarded Pesky Spectre. He's got some real gems in this deck. Okay, our health is fine. We can definitely take a Lightning Bolt. Here we go. This is gonna start kicking it up. Sure. Man, these egghead researchers have just been abused today. Between the whirling death here, the guy with the piercing darkness last game, I feel like every game they're just coming in and, and trying to take down our researchers. Okay, we'll just bank this one. I think we're good to just take down this board next turn. Let's start with the White Flame. I want to just, like, as it stands, just play Zenith Blade onto the White Flame Protector so we can take down something with the, and survive. Well, things have changed a little bit. Can, like, Viper Worm off our Badger Bear and Fury up pretty big. I think that seems okay. Can hook in the Squire and double Fury again. Or do we should probably just Zenith Blade, right? I don't feel like we're going to need the value out of this. Okay, then if we get to, if he like opens and we trade off a little bit and then just get to Mind Split 2 of his units, that's huge. Are we ever going to be allowed to do that, though? It's tough. We'll probably have to wait till turn 10 for that. Let's add a Priestess. Is he playing Scion? Okay, we have to take the Fallen Comet. That's like the one way we lose this game is if he does stuff with Scion. Tempted to put a block on the Reckoner, but I don't think we have to be that careful. Cool. That's the stuff. That's the stuff right there. Okay. Is it going to hit us with the Scion? That's weird. I mean, I guess this thing dies and puts units in his hand, but... Alright. You're welcome to add ephemerals if you want. Oh, that's that's one way to add the ephemerals. You got it. All right. Well, let's just keep our board strong. Again, the only way we're running into a problem here is if he has Scion, and we have both the Fallen Comet and the Mind Splitter to try and deal with any Scion shenanigans. I think we're fine here. Okay. They come down and hit us with the big overwhelms. We might have to make some blockers. Yes, fine. Okay, well now that we've picked up a second one, let's get rid of one of these like little camp blockers. Target some stuff. Looks good to me. Just don't die. That's all we're going for. If he has a combat trick to take down our Mind Splitter, that's completely fine. Now it looks like we just went on the open. Okay. So I think we should probably add something. It's pretty easy for him to just have a removal spell here, but it's like I don't want to play the Sketcher. It's a little too awkward. I mean, that's probably our play. We can probably just win this turn.
Spilled paint is just accidental art.
All right, the Serpent, you're not. Sometimes it's not what you want, but it's just what you need. He has to have 2 removals this time. Yep, see, there's the singular one. That was my worry. If we attack with everything, he blocks our big boy with the Spirit Leech, Vengeance is something, and then gets another turn. I mean, we can probably get through it because we have the Obliterate for Scion, but that's the kind of the big worry in that situation. All right, moving on, and we'll we'll take the Shyvana here. Again, Dragon's Clutch, not that exciting, but we're at least getting a removal spell out of this one as well. See how far we can take this one. All right, Teemo's a little scary. We don't have great ways to deal with a Teemo. I think we'll keep a hand like this. I hope this isn't one of these games to where we have to like turn 3 a Solari Priestess into like a meteor shower and just hope it goes well. Alright, well he doesn't have him on 1. That's always a reassuring sign. We just gotta prevent damage against Teemo decks. That looks good to me. Let's get our Daybreak. Here's the Meteor Shower for an answer to Teemo. You could look at Golden Sister as one as well, but she's just a little bit too expensive here.
I got ways to find me mushrooms.
Let's just go ahead and take it down. He can play 1 Mushroom Cloud if he wants. We have a decent stall block onto a Chump Wump. This is all okay. And we can like Grand Plaza Spicy Sketcher into this unit next turn. Oh, all seems fine. I thought this was the dragon. I was like, he's gonna play a removal spell on our 1/3, isn't he? It's just the way the day is gone. Here, I think we want Crescent Strike. Again, like my only worry is really Teemo, and so if this, along with the Sunhawk, gives us a way to stall out on Teemo for a turn, I think that's reasonable.
Paint your feelings.
So it seems like he wanted to play a removal spell on the Sketcher and then decided to wait on combat. Absolutely fine. Uh-oh.
You plan 'em, kid.
Don't have the answers to open Teemos. Play your puff cap and flip on us? Ugh. Painful, painful. Oh, we can survive one hit. That's not the end of the world. It's always the second hit from Teemo that is the real problem. So here, to get in front of this, I think we need to just like add our dragon. And then next turn, we'll just plan to open Molten Breath. Should be tough for them to deal with.
Only I can command darkness. Only I.
Never again will we fall to Dragonfire.
It's good to be the king.
I mean, do we even care if their darknesses are growing? I don't think so. This Kingpin could be problematic if he gets to stick around. Can easily take down our dragon. Okay. Feeling better. Feeling better. Especially if he like opens with Teemo here. Karina. Ugh. 20 pick. Activate. 5. Okay. She never attacks into us, right? What do I know? What do I know? That's suspect, right? Let's just try and trade off our dragon for this. We do have like the +1/+1 in hand, but that's just so incredibly suspect what he's doing there. Dang, I didn't really want to be drawing cards, so I was trying to avoid playing the Dragon's Clutch, but I think we're just kind of stuck doing it. Cadrigen for 1 damage, Shyvana for 1 damage. Okay.
I am more than I seem.
We lethal this turn if he keeps being cute. Got 9 and 4 at 13, plus 3 out of hand to be a little short. Okay.
Break them.
Okay. Definitely like to stun this, so let's see if we get a shot at that. Don't want to just take the 4 from the impact. Uh-oh. This is scary. +3. Now he's just going to open. Oh. Oh boy. Forgot that thing doesn't have burst. Alright, we got a shot. What's our biggest stats to replace the Grand Plaza with? The BR66? We unfortunately can't get the Mind Splitter down to stop both of these things from attacking, but we got a back-to-back in hand. That should be enough. Right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then back-to-back. Okay. Guess we could even do this. Oof. Ooh, that's the stuff right there. That's the stuff. Victory for Jarvan. He's not even in our deck, Shyvana. Okay. So let's see what we got here. I don't. Let's just trade out the confront. Like as far as the cards remaining here, I want Tyari out. I want Spacey Sketcher out. The Startled Stomper, whatever. Star Chart Tyari can go. Dragon's Clutch can go. And then our top end area is fine. The things we're looking for, I would like to pick up some like really cheap combat tricks. So if we could find like Radiant Strikes or even the thing that gives everybody tough for a turn would be fine. Just like preferably like a 1-mana combat trick we would like to find, and then just removal spells that are not Molten Breath. And so we definitely would like to pick up a singular copy or more, but at least one copy of like Sunburst, Concerted Strike, Detain, and then if we could get some cheaper things like the various single combat cards, that would be good. But with things like Zenith Blade, we just don't really need here. But so it does suck to kind of trade out some of our interactivity in these confronts. It's just not a good spell. Okay. What we got here? All the champions. The 4 champion deck. I don't know the last time I've seen that. I think I've seen it before, but I don't remember the last time. Right? Because you don't and your like champion picks, you don't see different ones. Like it's always the same 2 and then one new one. But then once you have 3 champions, it just shows all the same champions again. So it's like it had to have gotten a trade pick after he took his 3rd champion. Interesting. All right, bunch of challengers with Tristana. Get him. Okay. Block. What we got here? Fairly weak hand at this point, though. Let's add a researcher. I'm kind of okay with just passing, or I guess we could play Behold the Infinite, so we don't lose out on our point of mana. Pretty decent against us since our cards are so expensive. Let's just bank the 1. Like we're never going to play whatever we get off the Behold the Infinite anytime soon, and so I'd rather just keep a back-to-back mana. All right, the big decisions are being made. What spell would you like to play? Maybe. You got one? Got something? Thinking about it? Just so impressed he discarded the Empyrean, he dropped his phone in the toilet? It happens. It happens on occasion. All right, and these games like this are why I talk about the importance of the cheap combat tricks. They're disconnected, aren't they? Because it's like we're wanting to play like a Screeching Dragon. It would look like more prevalent if we had like the Shyvana, and then we wanted to be like Shyvana, Screeching Dragon, Cadrigen, and then be able to play a combat trick. Like I get with hands like this, you could play like Screeching Dragon next turn and still be able to riposte, but it's just it gets to be a little bit challenging on the mana if you're having to have things fall out that way. Are they back? The timer went away. I think they have returned. Nope. Maybe? Nope. Seems like they're back, right? The timer didn't hit that time. All right. Well, I assume this will be done in short order. Long order. Gotta wait on these timers. Four champion deck. Getting the disconnect. They have the space on here for 6. maybe one day. But at least as far as this goes, I mean, ideally, I mean, it's not going to matter here. I would like to be able to have back-to-back mana this turn, but let's go ahead and run this out. Make me sleepy. All right, here we go. Get in there, squad. One more timer. It's all we should need. There it is. We won a game with no opponent. It's the most challenging of games. So where are we at here? We're never trading out the Grand Plaza. I'm okay to trade out these Zenith Blades. They aren't like a real necessity in our deck, but we don't need like the Shield Bearers. Our early game is fine, and so we'll hang on to them just to have kind of something to do with our spells and something in our spell mana and something to do in the late game. The Screeching Dragon might be a take. We just have the one copy. I think I do like this. The Stomper. The Stomper is like the filler that you have to have in the Aurelian Soul decks just to ensure that you have enough early game. And in these decks with 5 dragon generators, we don't have to worry about that so much. Okay, Nami. Should be 2 copies of Trist. There's just one Nami out there. But we'll hang on to our 2 and look for some other cheap plays. We certainly found them. With hands like this, we can play the Grand Plaza on 3 and then have 2 units on turn 4. Shyvana on turn 4. So lots of good options here. Okay. If they play like the arena guy, the 4/4, then we'd probably have to like worry here. But just playing something like Nami, we don't. Is there a world where I think he attacks with like something, right? He may not attack with Nami, but he probably attacks with something here. Oh, this is so bad. If he just lets us bank, yeah, that's painful. It's gonna take us a couple turns to get this rolling now. All right. Well, the Dragon Guard Lieutenant might be saving our skin here. Be able to take down this Nami. Okay. Okay. That was about as good as we could hope for. F. Ugh. That bank was good. Okay, so we can add the Sunhawk. We can play the Grand Plaza post combat. This should shut down most of its attacks here. Like, it never attacks with Nami, and the rest of these attacks kind of suck. The only good one being kind of like this 2/3 tenor of Terra. So I think we can make up for this next turn. Hasn't been that bad having Nami on board, right? He's only played one spell. So definitely haven't gotten like hard punished for seeing her come down. Okay. Gonna get the one good hook onto Tayari, and the rest of these we just don't really care about. Let's just prevent the damage. We have enough time, everything's gonna be okay. Kind of see this as like we can play the Grand Plaza. Next turn we can play Shield Bearer Shyvana, and then on his follow-up turn, if he doesn't open on us, Leona is just a huge shutdown for whatever he's trying to do. Tempted to also just not kill Nami here. She's not that intimidating. I'm leaning more towards taking down like the Kingpin and the big impact unit. He did just pick up another spell. Oh, well, Shyvana will become a 5/5, right? So we can do this. These are the intimidating units, and then if we have to like trade these off next turn, it's okay. But right, ideally we'll get to open with Leona here.
Baddies beware, Mama's got a gun. The power of the immortal sun. Behold the sun's holy light.
Nice. Now, the cards generated from Bandle Commando aren't that scary anymore. It's going to take us like 100 turns to win this game, but I think this looks good. So we can't just like let this happen and then play back to back. What does that look like? It doesn't seem that interesting, right? The only block we really care about is on the Arena Kingpin. But the blocks with these smaller units aren't good. Let's take a bit of damage.
On it and on 'em.
Hello, cruel world.
I smell fear.
Like this, I mean, I guess this is fine. It's like, who cares if our Leona gets killed?
There are none like me.
Right? She's never flipping and never doing stuff with Daybreak. So if Leona dies, it's not a problem. All right, looking good. Pretty good spot to be in here. Finally got the Nami flip. It only has 2 cards in hand. I guess there are some of those random cards that let you get like 2 and 3 cards chained off of the one, but this is okay.
The more we learn, the less we fear.
And then we can do it in this order, right? We can play the Dragon Guard, and then this is a play ability. So we get to strike the 3/1 before it comes onto the board, so we don't have to overwrite anything. No, it says to replace. God, this sucks. Should have done this the other way. All right, we'll just discard the dragon then.
And here's where I'd paint my constellation.
All right, well that's unfortunate, but not horrible.
No reinforcement.
Ooh, you got a big bunch of stats here, Trist.
Firepower solves everything.
All right. We can wait until next turn before we try and Equinox this Protoporo. I think we'll be okay, but I don't know. They might play a random big elusive or something. It is an elusive. It's not random or big. Okay, we're good. Uh-oh, you gonna prank our dragons and make them super expensive? Nope. Alright.
Ride the surging tides.
So we should be done here. His two big units are turned off now because of the Mind Splitter. We're gonna have a bunch of challengers rolling around. Hit for 12. If we add Screeching, it hooks on. Was that a Conchologist? No, there's a good chance his board's just going to be full again.
What fetching scales you have.
And you've got the cutest hat I've ever seen.
There's still like reason to take Tristana off the board though, right? We can hook and kill Tristana just so she isn't giving all of the dude's units impact. Not opposed to taking her down. Okay.
Let the tide carry you.
So if we hook, we only have two hooks, right? We have Screeching and this thing. So if we're gonna be one short on lethal. No, Shyvana will be big enough, right? Right, she gets +2/+2. 8, 10, 13. Okay. Ooh, alrighty. Let's get ourselves in that final battle.
Our deeds will be written in the heavens.
Okay, so, oh man, I do love picking up a Herald of Dragons. It's probably pretty worthwhile here. I mean, we have a decent curve coming out from like the Shyvanas into the White Flame Protectors and stuff. Sucks to pass up back to back, but I think I'm okay with this. Next one, I don't want Spacey Sketchers, so we can get rid of these. Is a big removal spell in Captain Erika. We're kind of lacking in removal, so it sucks that our removal costs 8 mana, but I think that's an upgrade. Trading out Leona for Jarvan would be okay. Probably functions a little bit better in our deck than Leona does. Alright. Don't want to trade out Sunhawks. Don't need Rummels. I think we can skip over all of these. On to the next one. So turning a Badger Bear into a Lieutenant seems fine. I kind of like all these. Actually, let's come in and pick up this Hush. I don't think we really need like multiple copies of Behold the Infinite at this point. And our last one, trying to get rid of Hush for Sunburst. Can we live without it? I mean, we've got 2 Erikas. I think we might be okay. Don't want the Zenith Blade or the Scamp. Alright, Hush. That one's questionable, but I think it's okay. Alright, I think we should be decently positioned against landmarks. They have a lot of annoying cards, like the Hextech Minefields are kind of annoying against a deck that's trying to play big on the curve, since it gives them ways to just very cheaply shut down our play for the turn. But I think we might be okay here. Definitely not really worried about Xerath. This could be it. This is the guy, though, right? Getting Xerath to the final battle. You've been wondering how you do it. This guy picked it up. We'll look at their deck at the end of the trial. Okay. That's enough emotes. Right, this seems reasonable enough to Sunhawk off. There's not a lot of units in this deck that I presume we're going to really need to be removing. And we'll go ahead and get the open. I want to play the researcher here. If there is an argument to star chart, if we like really want to come in and Equinox this Bandle Commando, but I don't think that's necessary. This was the one I was talking about being annoying for decks like ours, but I think this is okay. I'm going to add the Protector because our next unit's going to get hit with the Vulnerable. So I'd rather the Protector take it than Shyvana. Ooh, this seems extremely good for us. He's going to get in with the Commando and generate a bird, but his board is falling behind quickly. Don't even really need the Shyvana here. We could just play the Screeching Dragon and try and take down his Bandle Commando, or we could do the same thing with the Grand Plaza. I think I like this. This is a pretty good Tyari attack this turn. Tyari into Bandle Commando and protect something else. You all remember when the Grand Plaza gave +1/+1 and it was like the most impressive card in the format? Y'all remember that one? That's what we need today in the... Oh no, this would just get played in like every Poppy deck. I was gonna say this is what we need to do in the world of Poppy is just give the Grand Plaza rebuff. Just absolutely not. Cannot imagine like running around against all these Bandle Commandos and Hungry Owlcats in a format with the strong Grand Plazas. That sounds horrific.
Today, base camp. Tomorrow, the summit. I won't stop now.
Okay. Sure. Is Xerath coming up soon? He's trying to spread out the 1 damages. It's tough to get the 1 damages up our curve, though. Okay. It's all coming together. Mega Inferno Bomb. I... We should just be taking this over next turn. The Shyvana is going to be huge.
I got an idea.
Okay. Nope. Okay. Good. Free up some of that space on our bench. So let's start with the Daybreaker. Then we'll follow up with Shyvana. Should be pretty impossible for them to have a board that plays well against this stuff.
The dragon's rage claws to get out.
Pretty impossible, I tell you. The F is this thing. Draw 1. If you drew a landmark, repeat. Okay. who do we want to put all the damage on? Let's put the damage on our Screeching. Got to go about it this way if we want to hook and kill the Sandseer.
Break them.
Good. We should have a big Molten Breath next turn if we need to. All of this looks good. I'm not sure how Molten Breath interacts with these stupid things. The unit gets stunned with the thing on the stack. It seems like the spell should still play, but I get confused by this frequently. Do we even care? Like, do we even care about this thing? I don't think. Does this generate? Not until next turn. Okay. And if he wants to attack, we'll just throw the Researcher in front. Not a problem.
If it's made of sand, I can write it.
Man at the ready.
Oh, okay. Did it for us. We ever get a better one? Probably not. Guess this could go wrong. I'm still worried about him doing this thing where he like blows up a minefield to stun our big unit. But depending on what they play here, we're just lethal at this point. We got the double Badger Bears. We have like what is this? 11, 18 damage from our dragons.
With the darkness in your heart.
And if we try to play Badger Bear on top of the Grand Plaza, it doesn't get the ability. So I don't think we're gonna get a lethal this turn. He's gonna like stun our big unit. Okay. Do we lethal here? 7 from Shyvana. 7 plus 6. 13. We're gonna be short. Okay, and we got this Strafing Strike ready to go if he wants to try and play some cards here.
Every squad's got a heavy.
All right, there we have it. GG. So yeah, not a bad trial. It didn't quite come together how I expected, but got some stuff to talk about with it nonetheless. So I was really hoping that we get to encounter some of those like Poppy decks, but didn't really come about. But I think that last game was kind of similar. We saw some Bandle Commandos, and that's where I'm kind of like thinking that these dragons should really shine, right? Because there's kind of like my big thing with the format, we talked about it a lot at the beginning, is just like everything generates a card. There's so many generated cards in this game that you're kind of, there's like two things that were like traditionally good in card games, where you would have like your ultra aggressive decks to where you're trading out your cards for damage, and so the idea. And a lot of this is something that I call mana advantage. I think like card advantage is kind of a dated term. I think of things in terms of mana advantage, and like that is what card advantage builds on, right? And so it's not that you got to play more cards than your opponent, that you got to spend more mana than your opponent. And so traditionally, you would look at cards as if you draw 3 cards more than your opponent, then that's a bunch of extra mana you get to spend, assuming that the game goes long enough for you to spend all that mana. And so the idea with these ultra aggressive decks was that your opponent may not have a 1-drop. They may play you're like a 1-drop on 1, a 1-drop on 2, and then a 2 on 3 or something. They may not be spending all their mana every turn of the game, and then these ultra aggressive decks would take advantage of that by trading out cards. So you might, just send a lightning bolt to face. You don't gain any advantage out of that other than just dealing damage. But the idea is you're faster and get to spend all of your mana faster than your opponent. And then the other kind of thing was, your classic control deck is to where you sit around and you trade like 1-for-1 on removal for a while. Then you might play a Wrath of God or a Ruination or whatever as you would call it here. You might play a bit of card draw, and then at the end of the day, you're going to get to spend more mana than your opponent because your cards on average are more expensive, and then you have ways to draw additional cards. But where this is all kind of like leading to is there's just like so much card generation in this game, and it is attached to literally everything. And so what you would traditionally see in a game like Magic is if you were going to have, say, like this Yordle Squire, the 2-1-for-1 that generates a card, that would be like a 1-1 or a 0-1. It would never be reasonably statted as a 2-attack unit generating a card. Maybe they would make like a mythic or something that had that kind of stat line, but it was never something that you would see at common, and never something you would see at the density of cards that we see here. And so it's tough that those kind of traditional aggressive decks aren't really that strong anymore, because the card generators are pretty much equal stat wise as opposed to the just good aggressive dudes. And then in the same vein, the control decks are no longer that good anymore, because we have cards like Egghead Researcher that sees -1 stat point for generating on average like 5 mana worth of cards. It's just extremely challenging to have to deal with these kind of things over and over again, because you can't just get that mana advantage because your opponent never runs out of cards to play. And so where that long aside takes us is with decks like how I would see like dragons being, and that if we just kind of like ignore Egghead Researcher as a card, it's like, how do we take advantage of all of these decks just sitting around generating cards? And that, because like kind of our strategy against the poppy decks where they just generate a bunch of cards is to just never trade. And so how do we make a deck that just never trades? That's what Dragons looks like, is to where we have dudes like Loyal Badger Bear that are overstatted. We have things like White Flame Protector and Screeching Dragon, and all these dragons just tend to be overstatted. And so we aren't doing a whole lot of card generation, but we're kind of getting 2-for-1s out of just our stats. And this is what you used to traditionally see out of like Freylord decks, where the +1/+1 stuff was running abundant, and elites with all of the not for Demacias, but all of the Vanguard Bannermans and stuff. They weren't winning through generating cards; they were winning through the stats. And it seems like that balance is kind of shifted, and the card generations are just where it's at these days, because there's no downside to those cards, right? The only understated thing we're really seeing here is Solari Priestess, but nonetheless, I think these Dragons decks should be pretty good for the foreseeable future. The kind of like second aside, and the thing I'll spend another video talking about, is it's not so much all of the cards that are generating cards, it's how much mana is generated out of those, right? And so there's a huge difference in generating 3 cards from Yordle Squire than there is with generating 3 cards from Egghead Researcher, right? Because the Egghead Researcher's cards are going to be like 15 mana worth of stuff, whereas Yordle Squire just generates 3 mana worth of stuff. But long story short, we'll save that up. I'll just make a whole video on the topic. But yeah, as far as these decks go, this came together quite well. We had this stack of like 15 2-drops to start with, and so our early game was very well managed. We didn't overstack on the late game. I would have liked to have had like typically like 1 more Screeching Dragon, but we have the Screeching Cadrigen. We were picking up Arikas as removal and Aurelian Soul. The only place we were really lacking was just the very cheap combat tricks, and then a card like Concerted Strike. And so, again, the way that you'll kind of take these decks and try to tier them off is your 2-drops. You have to have just this big stack of Dragon Guard Lieutenant, Egghead Researcher, Herald of Dragons, just whatever 2-drops that can come down and stall for a little bit. Then the next big thing you want is, a kill anything removal spell, so a Concerted Strike, a Detain, a Vengeance if you're in Shadow Isles, whatever. Anyway, just to kind of kill anything. And then otherwise, it's just kind of like curve management from that point forward. You don't want to stack up on too many. It's very, very easy to have like 3 and 4 Screeching Dragons, 3 and 4 Cadrigens, like a rando like Envolus Vox and Aurelian Soul. It's just way too expensive once that happens. And so it's mainly an exercise in, do you have a way to interact with your opponent's stuff, and curve management. That is the big things as far as dragons are concerned. But yeah, I think that is going to do it for us today. Looks like there is a reward to click on, and so let's see what shows up. Collect our Scion here. He's already premium. Oh, it's Caitlyn. What? We were on the Noxus rewards. I may have maxed out my Scions already. I've been playing a bit of Constructed, and so he's part of the interesting. Rewards only include cards from beyond the Bandlewood until you unlock them all. Huh. I don't know. You got me there, Riot. And so anyways, that is going to do it for us today. Hope you all learned how to ride the dragons a little bit better. Maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.